in, so City back in possession. Nico Gonzalez across to Ruben Diaz, the furthest outfield Manchester City player back. He's 35 yards out from the Spurs goal. Mamouche running at Pedro Porro. Kudus gets back and wins the ball off Mamouche, and then uses Porro to clear up the line. Richarlison puts Diaz under pressure, but City back in possession. Stones to Bob, who's got Spence one-on-one. Spence has been solid at left back for Spurs. Now Bob again. Cuts inside, Reinders makes a run, good foot in by Bentancur. Richarlison can't quite poke it away from Diaz. That's a strong tackle by Romero, but an equally strong tackle by Stones. Halts Richarlison on the halfway line at the expense of a Spurs throw-in. Here's Vicario, picks the ball up ahead of Erling Haaland. Haaland scored 48 goals in 48 home league games for Manchester City, but only one of them has been against Tottenham. Just look on the City bench. Jeremy Doku among the substitutes warming up. Anfield Foden. Here is Bob on the right-hand side. Reinders wants it on the edge of the box. It gets to Reinders. He's not got much space in front of him. Tries to weave through. Does weave past two, but can't weave past Jed Spence. Here is Oscar Bob on the right-hand side. Plays it into Cherky. Now in the penalty area, Cherky. Nice footwork, but tackled by Brennan Johnson. Spurs, though, don't get the ball away. Nico Gonzalez wins it back. Bob chips it in for Haaland. Can't get his head round the ball, and Pellegrini clears. As now Cherky pokes it goalwards. Clear, there's a foul on Pellegrini, but again a little mistake by Spurs at the back. It was Vicario this time who, well, his pass to Van den Ven, and in the end Cherky fouled Pellegrini, who just about saved a goal for Spurs really there. Here's Spence running at Lewis at the other end. Plays it back to Johnson. He clips it in. It's flicked on. Almost finds Richarlison. It was Sarr who flicked it on. Trafford got there ahead of Richarlison. Now Ruben Dias comes and has a little bit of a nibble at Richarlison. Whether Dias thought that Richarlison had left a footing on Trafford. Don't think he had, to be perfectly honest. Substitutes for City then. Mamouche and Cherki are coming off to be replaced by Doku and Bernardo Silva. So they were the two changes that Pep Guardiola had made to his starting lineup for this game, and he's reversed them, so it's back to how things were for the Wolves game. City got 36 minutes of normal time to turn this around. 2-0 they trail. Here's Ake, who was a first half substitute for Aït-Nouri, who went off injured, like an ankle problem. Rico Lewis to Bob, now Reinders. To Oscar Bob. Bob cuts inside, shows too much of the ball to Van der Ven, and then Johnson nips in and plays a nice 1-2 with Sarr to get Spurs out. Clips it forward. He's asked a lot of Kudus, but Kudus will get there. He's dragged Ake out with him. 1-on-1. Kudus shows too much of it to Ake, who wins the ball back and should be able to hump that away. He does, only as far as Palhinha though. And Palhinha and Pedro Porro manage to retain possession for Spurs, and Romero passes it all the way back to Vicario. Here is Porro driving forward, finds Kudus on the right-hand side. Cross comes in for Richarlison. Lewis did enough just to get in front of Richarlison. Decent ball in from the right-hand side by Porro. Richarlison got up really well, but Lewis did enough to put him off. Didn't get a clean contact on the head of Richarlison. Is Diaz to Bernardo Silva, back to Nico Gonzalez, who beats the presser Johnson to find Lewis. Now Bob on the right hand side into Bernardo Silva, tries to slide it through looking for Lewis, but Spurs have won the ball back. Bentancur, he's not got anything in front of him at the moment. Johnson makes a run, Richarlison's inside, Bentancur slides it to Johnson. All of a sudden it's 5-on-4 in Spurs' favour. Johnson maybe took the wrong option, shot from 20 plus yards out. It was high and wide. They had bodies there, Spurs. Sarr, Richarlison, Kudus were all in support. They had 5-on-4. It's Spurs. And that might go down as a wasted opportunity. Actually did the double over Pep Guardiola, did Thomas Frank in City's treble winning season. Mentioned earlier that he won at the Etihad with Brentford. Well, Brentford also won the home game that season. As Kudus keeps the ball away from Ake and Bernardo Silva. It's Sarr looking for options, plays it into Johnson. Now to Jed Spence on the left hand side. Now Bentancur. Romero. Into Bentancur again. He's got Pedro Porro in space on the right. Finds Pedro Porro. Kudus into Palhinha. Porro takes it off him, and then Nico Gonzalez wins the ball, but City have coughed it up, and Richarlison plays it out to Johnson. It's a decent first touch from Johnson. Just showed too much of it from Stones. It looked like providing him a great platform to attack at goal. Stones got back there. Spurs having a nice spell here in possession. Here's Kudus. And thought he'd won a corner, but it's a goal kick. Free kick for Spurs. City back on the edge of the penalty area. And it comes from Pedro Porro, hang towards the back post. Richarlison heads it onto the roof of the net. Well, they've not had many touches in the opening 10 or 15 minutes, Richarlison, but he's been a menace to City since. Leading the line on his own well for Tottenham. Got the assist for the goal. And at the moment, the changes that City have made have not really influenced the game. It's Spurs who are enjoying more of the ball and more of the territory. There's another slip from Trafford. Concedes a throw-in, and Kudus will take on the right-hand side. Win the final half an hour of the game. Manchester City 0, Tottenham Hotspur 2. Kudus into Porro, back to Kudus. Doku comes to shut him down. Kudus curls it in. Richarlison's at the back post again, and it's almost a carbon copy of that header just a few moments ago. This time it didn't quite land on the roof of the net. It just dropped wide of the post. But he's getting plenty of half looks, is Richarlison. And if anything, you have to say at the moment, it's more likely to see a third Spurs goal than one from City. Is Doku to Ake. Doku goes to the byline. He's overran that though. It had already gone out. Sure, we'll see a lot of that in the final quarter of this match. Doku getting at Porro. Well, Reinders impressed in that opening game at Wolves, but Spurs have managed to keep him quiet. Palhinha and Benson Kurt been excellent in front of the back four for Thomas Frank's side. And City might have to try something different if they're going to break the Spurs resolve. Richarlison is offside. Of course, he was given offside for the goal, which was then proven to be incorrect. Well, question marks, we mentioned them earlier about Spurs' personnel with the injuries to Maddison, Kulusevski, Werner, missing out on Eberechi Eze, missing out on Morgan Gibbs-White, but as things stand, they're going to be top of the league after 2 games, having won away at one of the early season favourites. Ake with the throw-in in front of the home dugout. Throws down the line for Doku, who's got Pedro Porro one-on-one. Palhinha comes back to help, but Pedro Porro doesn't need the help. Clears it down the line himself, and Richarlison will keep Ruben Diaz honest. Here's Reinders. Plays it into Haaland, holding the ball up. Romero nips it away from Haaland. And the ball back in the possession of Spurs. Ake climbs well to beat Kudus in the air. Kudus is being quietly effective for Spurs. Made himself busy and kept City working, as now Bob tries to get in behind for City at the other end, but the ball forward to him is too deep. Vicario bowls out to Spence to try and take Bob out of the game. As Van der Ven goes back to Vicario. Perhaps got fortunate Spurs when Vicario passed to Van der Ven in the box, was robbed off him by Bob, but Palhinha made a good tackle on Cherky. That really has been the only significant chance for Manchester City in this second half. Here's Bob on the right hand side, backing Spence into the box. Bob will be shown the byline, goes to the byline. Spence pokes it away from Bob and off Bob for a goal kick. Spence has had a really good game for Spurs at left back. Bob's been good for City too. He's asked plenty of questions of Spence, but Spence has had all the answers. Thomas Frank talking to Mathis Tel and Dom Solanke on the bench. He's going to freshen his front line, perhaps. Johnson on a yellow card, of course. Here's Haaland between the lines to Doku, back to Nico Gonzalez. Good sharp pass to Bernardo Silva. Good tackle from Kudus, who wins the ball back off Silva and runs away with it. He's got Ake in front of it. Kudus goes sideways to Sarr. Very tidy from Kudus. Palhinha's played it across to Johnson, but Johnson was retreating from an offside position, so doesn't go for it. Here's Porro. Richarlison pulls Diaz out wide, and Richarlison tries to cross it in for Johnson. Diaz takes the sting out of the cross, and it flies back to Trafford. He'll no doubt be one of the talking points after the game, James Trafford, for his mistake that led to Palhinha's goal. Perhaps fortunate not to concede at least something in a collision with Kudus. Might have handled outside his penalty area. Trafford plays it forward to Reinders. Now Lewis. Reinders between the lines. He's got Bob in front of him. Plays it down the line to Oscar Bob. Haaland's in the middle. Doku's at the back post. Good foot in from Romero. Flag goes up for a foul. It goes out for a corner. Romero's going to be booked here by the referee. Not sure whether it was a combination of the foul or his reaction. He lunged in. He did appear to get the ball, Romero. Maybe the referee decided he was off the ground. It was a little bit reckless, but either way, it's a free kick for Manchester City. It's almost a bit like a short corner in hockey, this. The way it is, it's in from probably 10 yards in from the corner flag. Got a bit more of an angle, actually, than anticipated as Bernardo Silva. He might be able to get a bit of whip on this with his left foot. Diaz, Stones, Bob, Haaland, Ake, Doku, all in and around the 6-yard box. Vicario at the moment has a bit of space to himself in the middle there. Referee, in fact, going to talk to Diaz and Brennan Johnson. Diaz has just been left free at the moment, and it comes from Bernardo Silva, and Diaz, was it he who got the touch? I'm not too sure. It's gone through for a corner. It was Van der Ven who got a really important touch onto the ball to divert it wide, because it did look like Diaz was primed and ready to head that home. Reinders goes across to take a corner on the left-hand side. It'll be an in-swing with his right foot. In it comes, not the best delivery. It hits Spence and goes back out for another corner. Perhaps a critical time of the match. Can City get a foothold back in the game? Reinders flapped away by Vicario. Only as far as Lewis, who's hit it wildly high and wide from all of 25 yards. There's a little bit of aggro between the two groups of players. Richarlison involved, and Pape Sarr is just guiding his teammate out of the way. I think Richarlison wasn't too happy with Diaz claiming for a penalty maybe in there. It just looked a bit of something and nothing. Yellow card for Nico Gonzalez and a yellow card for Richarlison. I don't think Nico Gonzalez is too happy that he's been assumed the guilty party there. I think probably Ruben Diaz might owe him one for that. 20 minutes to go. Manchester City 0, Tottenham Hotspur 2. No real sign of City getting back into this. And it becomes less and less likely the longer time goes on. Here's Doku. Still no sign of them changes from Spurs. Thomas Frank clearly happy just to keep it as things are for the moment. Good foot in by Benton Kurt. Concedes a throw in on the halfway line. Rodri getting warmed up on the sideline. Can the Ballon d'Or winner inspire a City comeback? They need to create some more chances. Here's Doku. There's some space for Bernardo Silva. Doku, though, doesn't release the ball. Goes back to Ake. Now Diaz to Reinders. Can't bring it in. Romero intercepts. Finds Richarlison. Now Spurs will break, and that's a nice pass from Richarlison to Brennan Johnson. Sarr and Kudus are up in support. Johnson plays it to Pape Sarr. Spurs decide to settle on the ball in the final third, and comes back to Benton Kerr. Now all the way back to Van der Ven. And to Vicario. Been a pretty accomplished performance from Spurs. They've looked assured, confident. Here's Benton Kerr to Richarlison. Now Polina to Kudus. Now Pedro Porro goes down the line. Plays it in, looking for Pape Sarr. Oh, and the bounce just does for Sarr. Trafford was hesitant on the edge of his box. Sarr might have been offside anyway, as Richarlison pokes it away from Nico Gonzalez. It falls to Bob on halfway, but he's dispossessed by Brennan Johnson. And the Spurs, Johnson just caught being a bit casual there by Bob, and while Bob feels like he's hard done to, foul given against him. Johnson just a little bit too casual, nearly had his pocket picked by Oscar Bob. More changes for City then. Here comes Rodri and Phil Foden. It's going to be Oscar Bob to make way. And also Nico Gonzalez. Now first touch for Foden in the left channel. Romero comes across and just sees it out for a corner. Does decide not to take any risks and playing it back to his goalkeeper there. Foden curls in left-footed and headed goalwards by Rodri. His first touch. Straight at Vicario. And now Spurs are going to make this change, and it's Dominic Solanke and Wilson Odobert who are going to come on. And that, Brennan Johnson, the man who's going to come on. Scorer of the first goal. And the other man to make way is Richarlison's had his yellow card. But he's done his job. 13 minutes to go. Manchester City 0, Tottenham Hotspur 2. Foden fouled by Porro. Here's Rodri, plays it into Stones in the box, but under pressure from Solanke, and Odegaard almost concedes possession. Now away comes City as Foden releases Doku. Doku driving into the box, cuts in one way, goes the other, still going. Doku pulls it back for Foden. Superb tackle from Van de Ven. Looked like Foden was about to pull the trigger from 8 yards out, but Van de Ven, a superb tackle, snuffs out that chance. Doku went in and out of Porro. Looked like he put it on a plate for Foden, but Van de Ven, superb challenge. Denies Foden, who stayed down after the challenge. He's back on his feet now, but he's hobbling about a little bit. The time is not on Manchester City's side here. Manchester City 0, Tottenham Hotspur 2. Just over 10 minutes to go. And Spurs are lining up a long throw in here. Romero's come up from the back. It's Kudus who's going to take. It's not the best. And it's cleared, and now Doku almost has a foot race with Porro. Bentancur manages to put enough pressure on Reinders, who can't believe he's not got a free kick or a throw in there. Dutch international. He's only the second player to score an assist on his City debut in the Premier League. Sergio Aguero, the only other Man City player to have done that. Wonder what happened to him. Yellow card for Pedro Porro, just for time wasting off this throw-in. He throws down the line. Kudus flicks it on, looking for Sarr. Porro heads it forward. Now Reinders to Oscar Bob. Silva plays it all the way back to James Trafford. Solanke will put him under some pressure, but Trafford clears. Van de Ven heads away. Picked up by Bernardo Silva, but it's won back by Odegaard. He keeps it away from Rodri and then goes on the outside of Rodri. Stones comes across. Now Bernardo Silva's there as well, and Odegaard plays it off Bernardo Silva for a throw-in, and Spurs continue to frustrate Manchester City here. City haven't lost since the 8th of March in the Premier League. And Thomas Frank is 9 minutes away from becoming only the third manager to beat Pep Guardiola away from home with two different clubs. Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte, the only two who've managed it before now. One of Conte's, of course, was with Spurs, Chelsea, his other one, Mourinho, of course, Manchester United and Real Madrid. Slightly less glamorous for Thomas Frank, Brentford and Spurs. But he won't mind that because it looks like Spurs are going to the top of the Premier League table. They just haven't been able to create clear-cut opportunities, City, in this second half to find a way back into the game, but they've still got 8 minutes plus stoppages. Here's Bernardo Silva on the right-hand side, plays it back to Rico Lewis. Now Bernardo Silva to John Stones. Ake out to Doku. Doku plays it back to Ake. Ake with a left foot cross. Silva's hanging around at the back post. Nods it across. Oh, and it's landed. Might have clipped the crossbar, the top of the crossbar. Not sure whether Silva was heading it goalwards or trying to head it back for Erling Haaland in the middle. It's just, in fact, landed on the roof of the net, I think. Vicario, it was beyond him, but landed on the roof of his net. Lewis into Rodri. Rodri into Phil Foden. Followed by Polina. Still deep in their own half here, City. They need to be up the other end. Rodri. Crossfield, raking crossfield ball, looking for Doku. Doku brings it out the air. Kudus gets back to help Porro, and they've kept it in between them, Porro and Kudus. Great play in defence. And then Solanke holds the ball up, uses Kudus again. Porro into Van de Ven. Vicario launches it long towards Solanke, free header for Stones. Now Bernardo Silva will bring it down for Rodri. Here's Reinders, back to Rodri. Into Foden. Foden might shoot from range. Takes a clip on its way through, but it was still comfortable for Vicario. And go down as a fifth shot on target, that for City. So we head towards the last 5 minutes of the 90. Manchester City 0, Tottenham Hotspur 2. Rodri. Driving through the centre circle, finds Reinders. Now out the left to Doku. Haaland wants it, but doesn't get it. Doku will go to the byline, tries to cross it. It's blocked at source, and it'll be a Manchester City corner. Haaland wanted Reinders to slide him through. He went out wide to Doku. He's good at getting at his man. Spurs are making another change here. Bergvall is going to come on to replace Kudus, who's had a good game for Spurs. So Bergvall give Spurs a little bit more protection in midfield, albeit Polina and Bentancur have done well anyway. Foden's corner, half cleared by Romero, and now Porro will bring it away. Reinders is chasing him, but Porro gets his head down. Still got it. Porro plays it down the line for Bergvall, who's onside. First touch for the substitute, and he's beaten Rico Lewis. Bergvall pulls it back, and a shot flashed wide from Odebert. The two subs combining for Spurs. That would have been curtains had that found the back of the net. He rolled the challenger, Lewis did. Bergvall. It was comfortably wide in the end from Odebert. Now Foden goes long looking for Haaland. In the end, Haaland will do well to keep this in. He does keep it in. Lays it back to Bernardo Silva. Now to Rico Lewis. Good footing from a Romero. And Sarr. Sarr slips and Lewis wins it off him. Sarr might well find himself in the referee's notebook here. Play goes on because City have still got the ball. Rodri clips it back to Ake. Ake's touch is heavy. There's a collision between Ake and Bergvall that's going to result in a Manchester City free kick. It was awkward for both of them. Ake just beat Bergvall to the bouncing ball. I'm not even sure Bergvall was going for it, but Ake then just followed through into him. Definitely a free kick for Manchester City. 10 yards from the edge of the penalty area, out towards the left edge of the penalty area. Foden is the man stood over it. Will surely be a cross from here. comes from Foden, poor delivery. Bergvall heads up in the air. Romero fouled as he went for the second ball. And it looks like Man City are falling to defeat here. Their opening home Premier League game of the season. A few fans starting to make their way to the exits. And 2 first half goals. Look like earning Spurs their second win in as many games to start the campaign. Foden plays it round the corner, looking for Haaland, but Van der Ven intercepts. Odegaard can't keep it away from Lewis. Rodri in possession in the final minute of the 90. City need to get the ball forward. Foden, though, loses out to Solanke. Palinha, heavy touch from Sarr. Cedes possession back to Manchester City. Ake to Doku. Doku into Foden. Now back to Ake. To Doku again. Now Rodri clips it over to Bernardo Silva. Back to Stones, crosses it in, looking for Doku, headed out by Bergvall. Four minutes added on at the end of the 90, and Spurs are going to make another change here. Palinha, the scorer of the second goal, is going to come off. And it's Kevin Danso who will come on. So we're in the 4 additional minutes now. Here's Stones, clips the ball in, headed out by Danso. Only as far as Doku. Now Ake. Too high for Haaland, might fall for Silva, misses his kick. And Spence will be able to clear for Spurs. Now Solanke, can he put some icing on the cake? Good save from Trafford, had to get down, but Sarr, Trafford beats it away. And it was very nearly icing on the cake for Tottenham. Solanke got at Diaz, had a shot. Trafford got down well, strong right hand, and sorry, it was Odegaard who headed goalwards, and it was comfortable height for Trafford. He powers it behind for a corner. Could have been back-to-back 3-0 wins for Spurs. Still might be. Pedro Porro with this corner from the right-hand side. This might be the last attack. Comes in towards Romero. Romero has it at his feet, tries to lay it off for Benson Court. In the end, Spurs retain possession with Spence. Plays it out back to Pedro Porro on the right-hand side. Whips in a delivery towards Solanke, headed away by Stones. And then Doku finds Ake. Ake bowled over by Sarr. Gets a free kick and gets on with it quickly, but Sarr still chasing down everything. Fouls Rodri. But they've done enough now, Spurs. Final 30 seconds of the 4 minutes added on. Here's Foden. Doku. To Ake. Into Foden. Can City at least give their fans something to cheer at the end of the match? Bergvall heads it away. Arm behind for a corner. We've now had the 4 minutes added on time, but I'm sure we'll see this corner before the end. Foden will take. In it comes. Headed away. Play goes on. Lewis finds Foden. Foden's cross is blocked by Pedro Porro. Here's Rico Lewis across to Bernardo Silva. The last knock-ins of this match. Reinders into Lewis. It pops back out and Bergvall will leave it to Porro. Porro will hack it away and the referee will blow his final whistle. Brennan Johnson and João Palhinha's goals at the end of the first half give Spurs their second win out of 2 at the start of the season and send Manchester City to defeat in their first home Premier League match. The final score at the Etihad Stadium, Manchester City 0, Tottenham Hotspur